Hey, it's Riven. We've been offline for the last several weeks, and no coming back will cause backlash, but we've been encouraged by professionals to reclaim our voice. So this channel now lies empty. We started making videos to spread awareness and support for those with DID in September of 2017. We spent 2 years of that time not monetized, spreading awareness because we wanted to be a voice for folks who live with this particular trauma condition. Once we became monetized, this allowed us to reach an ever-widening audience about our experience with DID. As a system, we've gone through many changes and struggles during this time. We've shown the internet our vulnerability because we saw it helping people. It was also helping us and got us in better communication with each other. We were able to connect with each other as a system more and more, and we found comrades within the DID community. We were proud of the work we did and grew so much as a system and individuals during that time. That has recently fallen apart, faster than we could ever predict or react rationally to. Why? Because a group of people wanted to see us and others with mental challenges get hurt. They found a part of Nan's past that could be exploited, and then displayed it all in a very twisted way. There are so many fallacies to what happened. We are surprised by the sudden widespread shift in opinions that people had, that so many people believed the twisted lies that were being told, just because they didn't understand what was being presented to them. We also understand that the public opinion was being heavily influenced behind the scenes by another large DID YouTuber, which was devastating to discover. This YouTuber was very kind to our face, said they were trying to help, and admitted they understood nothing about fetishes. Before we talk more about the issues that this has brought up, and more about the after effects people with trauma are left with, I want to talk about the disruption this has had in our life and the lives of people in the community. Since being exiled from the community, we have become aware that the hate towards leading members of the community has continued, and has been successful. The community is now divided, broken, falling apart. People are lashing out at each other in ways reminiscent of schoolyard bullying. I'm frankly shocked at this. This is not the community we tried to support. I get it. People are triggered. When someone with trauma is triggered, they experience a flare-up of the amygdala, the emotional control center of the brain, and the frontal cortex, the logical center of the brain, doesn't function to its highest capacity. Logic isn't able to be accessed as easily. Emotions control the brain. When one is triggered, brain functions work on being safe and eliminating the perceived threat, rather than thinking things through rationally. Hell, we were triggered too. When Nan found out that their drawings, which they'd never received disgust or hate for, had been viewed by peers as something wrong, were being twisted into something as appalling as CSEM, child sexual exploitation media, they were triggered. Cher was triggered. I was triggered. We were also deeply confused. How could people see anything sexual in the drawings they did of cartoon characters, fully clothed, just sneezing? Sneezing isn't inherently sexual, only in specific circumstances. Fetishes aren't sexual all the time. They often manifest with simple enamoration. This is particularly true for Nan, who is asexual. The actual pornographic pictures Nan drew were on a protected adult site depicting young adult and adult characters, not children, and had been on that site for years prior to all of this. They were drawn while Nan was attempting to discover their asexuality in early adulthood. Nan desperately tried to figure out why people were now thinking they were a predator. Jer and Nan both freaked out, assuming that their drawings must be wrong since so many people were against us. I was furious at Nan for not knowing better than to post anything online at all. We were chased off the internet in a matter of days, took all the videos on the channel we worked hard to create, deleted the Instagram, left the DID conference we were looking forward to attending, and spent the next several weeks up until this point in a cycle of self-hate, confusion, depression, and terror. We are responsible for our own emotional well-being. We have gotten help from professionals who have seen what Nan drew, what was written in the past, and what a particular hate site has posted regarding private details of our life growing up. They've seen the drawings that people labeled as CP, and are shocked that people think it's actually CP. They see what's being said by this hate site, and are appalled at how anyone could place such misinformation and hateful content on a person's private life in order to cause them pain, and that they get pleasure from that pain. It's untreated narcissism, plain and simple. They have seen the pornographic images Nan drew that were taken from a private adult website and negligently dispersed for anyone to see, and are saddened that people are reacting as violently as they are, and are being displayed carelessly. We have been assured by a number of professionals that Nan has drawn nothing wrong, and certainly nothing remotely resembling actual CSEM. It's gravely disrespectful to people who've actually been a part of CSEM, dealt with grooming personally, and have a long history with CSA to label something as benign as what Nan drew as CP. CP doesn't exist, but child sex exploitation media does. Porn is something paid for and insured by adults. A child cannot consent, therefore a child cannot be in pornography. They can be exploited sexually, though. Oh, most definitely. A cartoon character cannot be exploited. Sexual drawings of cartoon characters can be exploited to groom children, but there's nothing exploitative about a non-sexual drawing of a cartoon character itself. All the pictures of child cartoon characters Nan drew were non-sexual. It's taken us a long time to figure out why Nan is being labeled a predator nowadays, when most of the images and the careless stuff Nan and others in the system wrote when they were trying to figure out their sexuality, and lack thereof, were written and drawn many, many years ago. We've learned it's 'cause on our Instagram we had a couple pictures of Jeremy sneezing, and we sometimes posted that we were sick when we were sick. There was a video that compared Alter's sneezing, though it's baffling to me that people would assume these things were meant to be sexual. We as a system, and the professionals we've talked to, have tried to understand. No doubt, people are hurt and triggered. It makes sense now, looking at the disturbing language that was purposefully and maliciously used around Nan's drawings and posts in the past. People's trauma responses go off. Upon hearing labels attached to something, that thing or person becomes a threat. The brain will then start searching for anything that could be used as a red flag in order to protect itself. Assumptions will be made to further give reason for the sudden shift of opinion. The hate site that posted the information on us knew what sort of language could be used to best manipulate and exploit an already traumatized community. We've had our voice stripped away and discredited, started with a website that was created to make fun of and hate on folks with mental disorders. Since that time, this hate site set its sights on other members of the DID community. The community has turned in on itself, tearing itself apart, hating on other public figures within the community, who are just people too, and everything falls into chaos. This hate site laughs at its victory and expresses disappointment that the community fell so quickly. We see this happening, see the hate in the rest of the world happening, and have been forced to stay silent. We, as trauma survivors, have yet again been stripped of our voice, a voice we've worked damn hard at finding after years of recovery. It hurts, and it's taken weeks of talking to professionals and healing from this re-traumatization to find our strength to have a voice again. We won't be advocating for the DID community anymore. It's shown itself to be a toxic place. Public advocates of this community, who are just traumatized people themselves, are being dehumanized, being forced to apologize for things over and over with no avail, and having to endure aggressive bullying and slander from people within their own community. They aren't treated as people. They're being treated as objects. They aren't allowed to make mistakes, struggle, or grow from their past. It's disgusting. People expect those in public positions to give up their right to privacy, their right to safety, their right to mental well-being for their own emotional gratification. Since emotional gratification can't come from outside oneself, the hate goes on and on. I'm deeply disappointed that a community of traumatized and wounded people many of which have suffered bullying and emotional abuse for a great deal of their lives, have dealt with not being believed or listened to, and experienced not having a voice, would treat others within their own community in this re-traumatizing, judgmental way. Systems are being deemed more valid or less valid based on the trauma that system dealt with, what the system itself looks like, and the after effects of the trauma that they're left with, like the age regression or being disabled. Childhood trauma leaves scars that don't go away. This trauma occurred while the brain was developing, leaving the adult brain permanently affected. Some of these disorders, like DID, won't ever go away. There are many trauma disorders and conditions that are just not talked about. Trauma in general, especially childhood trauma, doesn't have a lot of safe dialogue around it. Trauma is ugly, fucking hideous, and it's hard to talk about the ugly side of things. It's hard to talk about the fucked up ways in which trauma twists the lives of people. Many are silenced out of shame. This only perpetuates the stigma against trauma survivors and trauma conditions like DID, enabling more abuse to keep going on within the secret corners of the world that no one wants to look at. At this point, there's no care for making advocating for DID our job again. It was a job that many of us loved, but that's in the past. We couldn't advocate for the DID community anymore, even if we were accepted back. All comments posted that are hateful or referring to hate site articles on us will be completely ignored and removed. We will not give emotional or mental space to a bunch of lies written by a group of self-proclaimed Nazis and incels about personal stuff from our past, which has been twisted. If people still want to watch what we make, then awesome. This will be a platform to share our voice, and the voice of others with childhood trauma that have been silenced for too long. Riven, posted, and edited by Jeremy. We are beyond saddened to have read this. Not one system, to our knowledge, has ever worked against them. Maybe this is about us, because of our part saying, hey, this is not okay. We hope that's not the case. We were even criticized by some in the community for not speaking out sooner. It broke our heart to be blamed when we are a mother and someone who has been through CSA. That hurt beyond what words could say. But equally, it was a serious accusation to make, and we wanted to at least make sure we were thinking logically and not going purely with our gut reaction, as written about in their post. We heard them out and tried to understand what was going on for them. We know very little on fetishes, so that part is true. We wanted to try to understand how this was all happening. We wanted our gut to be proven wrong. They told us that in the first few days, the Kiwi farms were wrong, and we took the chance to try to understand and listen to them. We wouldn't look at the drawings ourselves, but then more and more statements kept being made about what they contained. We also didn't feel comfortable with the sneezing comparison video being released to people who didn't have informed consent that they were potentially watching a fetish, and although we were told it wasn't made as a fetish, it was done because it was, quote, cute, we did not feel comfortable with that. Our gut reaction didn't feel comfortable with that, and that's not an invalid response. When they asked us outright, we even told them that right now we felt uncomfortable by it all. We were never mean or rude to them. Those were simply our beliefs and our boundaries. We then listened to our friends, who were also feeling the same way as more information came to light. We sought perspectives because we felt like we were the only ones that had an issue with this. If we were seeing something incorrectly, we wanted to know. But we weren't the only ones feeling that way. Others were afraid to believe it too. You don't want to think that way about your friends. And we were obviously aware of the serious reputation damage it could do if we all didn't stand as one. But that felt wrong and disingenuous. I felt for those in the community who were saying, this isn't okay. I'm being attacked for my opinion. And we chose to side with them because that's what we felt too. We shared our conclusions in the chat. We wished them the best to recover and to heal. No one was malicious. We were just saying we couldn't support this as this wasn't how we felt. When you're in a group that insists everything is okay, but see others on the outside are saying it's not, it's hard to see the woods through the trees. But weighing everything up, those were our boundaries and our decisions about what's right and wrong, and that we couldn't support this. And it saddened us that this manipulation is being alluded to when community members simply said, "Hey, I'm not comfortable with your view, but we hope you get the support you need." We still do. And we do not regret our decision. We really do hope they get better soon. They know that's exactly what happened in the group, and we hope this isn't used to cause the community any further upheaval. People really just want to move on and heal. We hope whatever projects they continue to do bring them the closure they need too. The following 3 posts can be found on Multiplicity and Me's Instagram page, as well as Entropy Systems' Instagram page. I'm going to read this one out loud. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation and emotional abuse. The gaslighter avoids responsibility for their toxic behavior by lying and denying and making you question facts, your memory, and your feelings. Basically, the gaslighter makes you feel crazy and confused. Know this now. You're not crazy. You're being manipulated, and this is toxic and not acceptable. Tips to defend yourself against gaslighting. 1. Do some reality testing. Write down your thoughts to assess the issue with more objectivity. Talk to others for their opinion, friends, therapists, online forums. Identify the problem, i.e., gaslighting. 2. Restore your self-worth. Having low self-esteem and self-worth is part of the problem. Remember your truth. Don't let another's opinion define your reality. Don't excuse another's harmful behavior, even if it was unintentional. 3. Communicate. Don't waste your energy arguing in a power struggle. Focus on whether the conversation leaves you feeling hurt or in doubt. Tell them why their behavior/words leave you feeling that way. 4. Create boundaries or let go. Prioritize your safety. Leave the situation if you feel in danger. Respectfully set limits around certain behaviors/words. If they are unwilling to change, give yourself permission to let go of that relationship. An apology without changed behavior is just manipulation. Axolotus in a trench coat responded to Team Pinata with a Twitter post saying, "Honestly, how effing dare they? Pinata's gaslighting essay is disgusting to say the least. Any professional that helped them review should not have a license. What is the strongest word for anger? Synonyms: furious, irate, seething, infuriated, incensed, livid." Tips to defend yourself against gaslighting. 1. Do some reality testing. Write down your thoughts to assess the issue with more objectivity. Talk to others for their opinion, friends, therapists, online forums. Identify the problem, i.e., gaslighting. 2. Restore your self-worth. Having low self-esteem and self-worth is part of the problem. Remember your truth. Don't let another's opinion define your reality. Don't excuse another's harmful behavior, even if it was unintentional. 3. Communicate. Don't waste your energy arguing in a power struggle. Focus on whether the conversation leaves you feeling hurt or in doubt. Tell them why their behavior/words leave you feeling that way. 4. Create boundaries or let go. Prioritize your safety. Leave the situation if you feel in danger. Respectfully set limits around certain behaviors/words. If they are unwilling to change, give yourself permission to let go of that relationship. An apology without changed behavior is just manipulation.